The progress of the federal troops towards ASABER could be measured by the approaching sound of heavy guns and the rattling machine gunfire. Eyewitness account described 24 hours of ferocious shelling during which ASABER suffered its first casualties. Then the massacre followed. This video is inspired by the book entitled The ASABER Massacre, Trauma, Memory and the Nigerian Civil War, written by Elizabeth Bed and Fraser Otanelli. Welcome to Hispo Media. Approaching ASABER from along the Opanam-ASABER Road, federal troops reached the outskirts of town on October 4th, where the BIAFRAN resistance before occupying the grounds of St. Patrick's College later that day. This was the 2nd Division of the Nigerian Army, led by Colonel Moritala Mohammed and Major Ibrahim Taiwo. At this point, many of the residents had fled into the nearby bush. Hundreds of people, including some who had first fled to the bush, men, women and children, gathered at the square wearing white attires signifying surrender and singing One Nigeria, and also some bearing gifts for soldiers. Since there was a lot of anxiety, some refused to take part. Both traditional criers using guns and trucks equipped with loudspeakers were reportedly calling on everyone to join. The chief information officer from Benin City, an ASABER man named Frederick Conway, was aboard one of these vans. Since he was well known, the sight of him allayed the fears of many residents who then came out in their. Others were ordered to take part after being pulled from their homes by soldiers. Celestina Ezishe was a college student who returned home to ASABER at the instance of northern pogrom and the threat of war. Her father resided on one of ASABER's most beautiful estates at the time, which was made of a large brick house and a number of outbuildings. The family, which consisted of her parents, younger brother Osi, sisters, and an older brother Emmanuel, together with his wife and little child, had felt generally secured back in their home. Her father was a powerful man, and the family had recently celebrated her brother Patrick's ordination as a Catholic priest. They were now hiding as shots started to hit their house. Osi and his friend Callistus, both students of St. Patrick's College, hid under beds. However, when the soldiers arrived at their compound, all hell broke loose. Osi and his friend ran out of hiding and were accused of being BIAFRAN soldiers. They were shot one after the other as they approached a gathering of women who were on a forced dance outside the gates of the compound. About 4,000 residents took part and were led by elders from the city. Groups emerging from homes in the 5 ASABER quarters joined those who had congregated by a big tree on the Indebisi Road across from the High Court. St. Patrick's College student Christopher Upaya, who had already witnessed a friend from school die, was waiting anxiously in his home. After some time, the crowd at Indebisi Road started dancing and singing One Nigeria, One Nigeria, One Nigeria. Along the major Indebisi Road, the crowd passed the Catholic Church of St. Joseph. Any hope that this act of kindness would calm the troops was immediately dashed. As Empire narrated, federal forces flanked the marchers to prevent them from escaping, and other witnesses claimed they would also select men at random and have them killed in front of the crowd, as they did with Osi Isiche and his friend Callistus. Once the crowd reached the corner of Ogbogonogo and Ogbeke markets, separated out and small children, many of whom were carried into the maternity hospital on Indebisi Road, while the men and boys of around 12 years and above were channeled between 2 rows of soldiers down the side road that led to the square at Ogbeosowa, a village in the ASABER quarter of Ugbomanta. Eyewitness narrate how Paul Ogbebo, a federal soldier, tried to intervene. He said, "I was coming on my jeep and I saw a boy being taken away to be shot, and the mother held him by the waist, and then I came out and asked for this nonsense to be stopped, and when they refused, I cocked my gun, said, 'Don't do it or I will kill you.' I managed to save some lives there."
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any fancy editing software. With Doodly, you drag, you drop, you tweak some settings, and boom, video done. It'll take you just a few minutes. So let's hear from the Doodly creator, Brad, to see why Doodly is so easy to use and why you should grab this offer right now.
Hi, I'm Brad Allen, and in this video, I'm going to show you how anyone can quickly and easily create doodle videos, just like the one you're watching right now, using Doodly. Alright, here I am inside the Doodly software, which is available for Mac and PC. You'll notice that you can choose the style of your video, selecting from whiteboard, blackboard, greenboard, glassboard, and for more advanced users, you can even use a green screen background, giving you lots of...
However, things were now out of control. Weibo reported that he left the scene to join his own troops who were camped on the outskirts of town. At this point, witnesses describe how mothers were attempting to protect their young sons by wearing them skates and gloves so that they could look like girls. Their effort yielded little or no result as the men and boys were led away to the open field nearby. Here, one account reported that the federal troops divided the men into groups of 10. Apparently, tired of killing their victims this way, they readied a truck-mounted machine gun and started shooting at the crowd of men. One survivor narrates as follows. When we got there, they said we should now stop. As we stopped there, they now surrounded us, sat us down, they started whipping us. The next thing we saw, the officer spoke in Hausa. I was born in the north, so I heard what he said. He said they should take us 10 by 10 and start firing us. I said, we are finished. Some people say they are just trying to threaten us. That officer now picked out somebody from the meet, shot him, picked out another, shot him. Then people were praying, Father forgive them, they don't know what they did. Another witness read as follows. 20 of our men were selected and lined up in front of us and told as follows. Today I be your God, me first, God second. God gave you life, me, I come. 2 minutes time, you go die. 2 minutes afterwards, these 20 men were shot. Another 20 were picked up and the same ritual followed. 15-year-old Ife Uriah, who had joined the parade with his father and 3 elder brothers, Paul, Emmanuel, and Medua, described what happened. Some people broke loose and tried to run away. My brother was holding me by the hand. He released me and pushed me further into the crowd. They shot my brother in the back. He fell down and I saw blood coming out of his body. And then the rest of us just fell down on top of each other. And they continued shooting and shooting and shooting. I don't know how long it took. After some time, there was silence. I stood up. My body was covered in blood, but I knew that I was safe. My father was lying not far away. His eyes were open, but he was dead. Exactly how many died in this single incident is unclear. 700 to 800 seems likely, in addition to many who had died in the previous days. Sporadic shooting continued for hours until darkness caused the soldiers to disperse. Survivors, including Ife Uriah, lay still under the heap of bodies for a long time before feeling it was safe to wriggle out and run into the nearby bush. Ife Uriah and his cousin could later run to their grandmother's house where they found his sisters and 3 younger brothers. He told them their father and 3 older brothers were dead. Later he learned that Medua had survived, gravely wounded, and had been carried to the bush by his friend. Community elders Michael Ugo and Leo Okogu were among a large number of the leading age grades to die. With all the men either dead or in hiding, it was left to women and children to attempt to retrieve the bodies of their fathers, brothers, husbands, and other relatives and then drag them back to their compounds for burial. Joseph Unwaje, the boy who had returned with family from Ibadan, had escaped into the bush compound after watching the earlier execution of his uncle George, a prominent civil servant. When he returned a few days later, he learned of the death of his 2 brothers, aged 12 and 17, in the mass shooting. He narrates as follows. Mom told me that in the evening hours of the 7th of October, she had to go and look for their corpses at the mass place where they were shot. Most victims, however, were dumped in mass graves or thrown into the Niger River. Few people had any opportunity to conduct requisite burial practices, and affront that is deeply resented to this day. When it was safe to move about, Frank E.J., a local Red Cross worker, enlisted surviving men to dig horrid, shallow graves wherever they found bodies around the town. Esther Nwanze recalled how wives went searching for their husbands. dragging them home if they could find them. Some dragged 2 days before they reached their homes. As more people began to trickle back into town, it became urgent to dig mass graves for the many unclaimed bodies. Who oversaw the massacre at ASABER? At the Justice Oputa panel that heard testimonies about brutalities against different groups and marginalization of different sections of the country, General IBM Haruna, retired, claimed that he ordered the massacre and had no apology.
I, as a combatant commander of the troops,
as a witness in this box,
testifying for and on behalf of the soldiers who fought the Civil War, they fought it in the principle of preserving the Nigerian Federation. I have no apologies for maintaining the Federation of Nigeria. That was my task. If my commander-in-chief, who was in command, gave me command, which I carried out with troops, if he now feels to apologize, and he has apologized, it is in his own wisdom to do so.
However, some historians contended that Haruna was not in ASABER in 1967. They argued that he took over from Murtala Muhammad as the commanding officer of the 2nd Division in 1968. But why was ASABER the target of the federal troops, and particularly Colonel Murtala Muhammad or even IBM Haruna? ASABER is the metropolis where soldiers like Major Kaduna Nziogu, the leader of Nigeria's first military coup on January 15, 1966, came from. Even though born and raised in the north, his parents were from Okpanam, 9 kilometers from ASABER. Okpanam fell within the ASABER metropolis or division, as it was known then. Analysts adduced that Murtala Muhammad and Taiwo were not satisfied with their revenge coup of July 1966, where they killed Igbo officers as revenge for the January 1966 coup. Remember that Nziogu had led the coup in which the premier of the northern region, Ahmadu Bello, beloved by many in the north, was killed along with other northern leaders. Murtala and Taiwo were hell-bent on continuing their revenge killings beyond their fellow soldiers. This could have been the reason behind the massacre at ASABER. Click the video here for more on the battles to reclaim the Midwest and to capture Nsukka. Remember to smash the like button on this video. Subscribe to History Media if you have not done so. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
I believe many people in Europe are getting this idea of ceasefire wrong. We on this side, at least, were honorable enough to observe it. But are the rebels actually observing it? I'll tell you one thing, that for the past 24 hours, the rebels have actually intensified their attacks on all fronts. And the sponsor, those who actually, like Britain, that has come out to say they're requesting for the ceasefire, I don't think actually that they understand what the rebels are, or even their ideas or their mood of thinking. If they do, they should have appealed also to the rebels to do it. And it's just cockeyed, really, running from post to pillar, asking us to have a ceasefire. Experience has actually taught us that it's just nonsense. But I blame no other nation for this nonsense but Britain. Now, when we had this Addis Ababa conference, the peace talk, the rebels agreed that they were going to have a ceasefire. But how far did they observe it? The attack on that particular day, throughout the period of the conference, was really very heavy. Now, what they are trying to do now is just to have time to re-equip, re-arm, and be properly refitted so that they can continue the war during the Easter. Now, they will never again have that time. They will never be given that opportunity. It's just gone and gone forever.
Sweeping over the town, strafing and dropping rockets as they move. Yesterday, 27 people were killed and about 300 were injured. At precisely 1:30 every day, they come over the town as the marketplace is full, as patients are sitting out on the lawns at hospitals, and the clinics with children in them are moving in their exercise grounds. Here comes the next one. He's flying the other side of the Mission Church, sweeping to the right. Just above the mission now, one MiG-17. 300 feet high, strafing the ground as they move, dropping incendiary bombs and fragmentation bombs in the marketplace around here. Yeah. To our right, there's one sweeping high over the trees, coming in for his second run now, positioning himself for the next run in. This mission, St. Finbus, is surrounded by BOFA guns, ACAC guns. They have no radar. They have to wait until they see the aircraft before they can give themselves time to load and fire and give the people surrounding this time to prepare themselves. There goes another one. This one hasn't fired, obviously resisting himself, and there's another one at 400 feet, banking low over the town, firing in straight to the south. We are in a particularly vulnerable spot. There we go. Banking to the left, banking to the left, rising up high over Romania. He's dropping incendiaries. People in the bush, listen now, here comes another one, a little bit. This is their 7th run in. The time is 1:45 on Saturday.
Come on, dig us, don't go!
Please go down that way. Leave the horse alone.
That's what I want to know.
Well, that is quite true. Look, having compressed into a very small area, one has got to be a bit very careful about what you do and what you don't do. Now, if we kill ourselves, we are the one going to repair it. But I think we've given them a long time, a long period to think, fitting into the new concept of Nigeria. But they have refused to think. The more time you give them, the more dogged they become, the more stiff-necked they become, the more parochial they become.
Exactly how many people die of disease and starvation is not known with any accuracy. The people who work in these camps and clinics often wonder how the experts in London and Washington arrive at the figures they publish. The only certain thing is these foodstuffs brought in by the church planes from Saint Tomé has halted to a greater extent the starvation of June, July and August. But the death rate is still high, especially among the children and old people. And the main killers are still kwashiorkor, the disease of malnutrition, tuberculosis and measles. What will you do if the Federals do come any closer?
Well, we'll probably move out where we are just at the moment and try to find security a little bit further in the bush.
You'll leave the camp altogether?
Well, we would have to, because the children naturally will try to get shelter in the bush somewhere themselves, you see, the remaining.
It worries you, it must worry you that every day the Federals are getting closer.
Yes, it does worry us a lot when we hear the noise of shelling in the distance, coming closer and closer and closer.
How will you survive in the bush?
Oh, well, we take a little pack with us if we can. And I think we'd last out for a few days, you know. We have our little packs ready. We take some cold water with us and...
Is there any question of you leaving Biafra for your own safety or any other reason?
None whatsoever, unless we are told by those in authority to leave, then we will leave. But of ourselves, we'd never dream of leaving the people. We'd stay with them to the bitter end.
Pick them up.
we hear rifle firing. Even we heard some loud.
Did you?
Yes.
In what, near the village?
Near the village,
Near
yeah.
the village.
What? Small arms?
Small arms.
Okay.
It's like Mach 4 or 5.
Now, does this keep some people still away in the bush?
Oh, yes, because they're frightened. They go far away into the forest. The next roadblock here.
You are going to be shot down, the two of you. Yeah, you are going to worry them as the village again.
See all the...
So don't worry, take them away.
Can I see the...
I put the detained many soldiers there.
That's something homemade?
Yes. And there's a big grenade which has never been exploded.
Where grenade pin goes?
Yes, this grenade cap.
Even Osuku soldiers, we are not fighting them unless the man who trying to kill us come out from hiding place. Since this place, August, we are here, no trouble. But some of you now are calling trouble back.
Colonel, your main realize is winning this war. I wonder if you know how concerned people outside Nigeria really are, including people in Britain, at the dangers of mass starvation.
I must tell you one thing, that Europe doesn't understand Africa one bit. Not even at the moment, not even the ex-colonial masters. Look, whenever you want to start a new project, you must have feasibility plans. Feasibility plan, in as far as this particular aspect is concerned, is to find out whether we have got enough food in Nigeria or not. We have got enough food. It is not the milk that you send from Britain or the sugar or any other thing that you send from Britain that can sustain us. We are almost self-sufficient in as far as certain items are concerned. Enough food is within the rebel-held area at the moment.
It's largely a distribution problem.
The only problem which the rebels can be accused of now is this question of distribution. They are not doing it properly. It's limited to a very small circle. And that's disenjoying itself so much. Now you just look at some other people. You go to Gabon and see the other people who are coming up from the rebel hills, who are civil servants. Their chicks are very fat. They are not malnutrited at all. Now, the whole world is just coming on this question of humanitarian business, God knows, chocolate and all this. And who are the people actually being malnutrited at the moment? They are not Igbos. They are the Efiks. They are the Ibibios. They are the rivers. The houses, there are some houses even there. There's some Europe has been held there. This question of food or no food is just cockeyed. It's just a sort of cover plan. If anybody thinks that they can just hold back the hand of the wheel by the beginning of next month, they're making a damn mistake. They better begin to think twice. This country is independent and we're going to retain it that way, humanitarian reasons or not.
On the periphery of their diminishing country, Biafran troops try a small, brave assault on the Nigerian enemy. The assault comes to nothing, a brief counterattack in the steady and bloody process of retreat. Lacking heavy armaments and tanks themselves, the Biafrans are reduced to elementary tank traps against the heavy armor of the enemy. The barricades are inadequate. The federal troops move on. As the refugees are driven from the battle areas, they have fewer places to hide. After Port Harcourt, and Enugu had fallen, this town of Umaya, the Biafran capital. From Santa May, the former Portuguese prison island, 90 minutes flying time into the Atlantic, aid and arms are still going into Biafra. These flights have been the source of Biafra's strength. By daylight, only food and medical supplies are flown in from Santa May. In the past year, £15 million has been spent carrying aid this way to relieve suffering. But at night, according to the students, armaments are also flown into Biafra aboard planes loaded in Lisbon. Officials at Santa May deny this. The relief administrators are embarrassed by the charge that they are now prolonging the war.
Would you say that your relief has not only saved these lives, but made it possible for Biafra to carry on fighting its war?
I do not think so, because our relief program is for the civilian population only, especially our food goes to the children in the feeding centers in Biafra. Now, these children know nothing about political niceness. They know nothing about economic blockade or secession or independence or any of these ideas we hear expressed by adults and matured people.
We've noticed on our stay here that the arms planes smuggle in on your routes at night. Does that worry you at all?
In fact, no ammunition plane leaves here. None whatever. I can testify and swear in the Bible that no ammunition plane whatever leaves this island and goes into Biafra.
They do refuel sometimes and go.
Empty ammunition planes come back here, refuel and go on to Lisbon. But these planes are empty, but certainly no ammunition plane as such with ammunition leaves this island, because the Portuguese authorities here in São Tomé do not in fact allow it to happen. And we have reservations therefore on this island for relief and relief only at present.
Yes, I'm slightly confused because I know that arms planes have left in my presence, and I've talked to the people who are ferrying them.
I challenge you to show me at any time, and I will give you £50 on the spot. You can show me an ammunition plane loaded with ammunition leaving this island.
Each evening, the planes carrying food can make 3 flights apiece. If all 8 planes are in operation, that's 200 tons a day. An equal amount is flown in from Libreville by the Red Cross. With the enemy only 20 miles away, the refugee children are fed with their 1 meal a day, a high-protein meal of fish stock or cornmeal or soya bean and milk formulas. The terrible starvation of last autumn is now almost over, although the situation has deteriorated. The aid came just in time, but even so, too late to save thousands of deaths from starvation. Here, the aid is distributed by a Catholic priest, elsewhere by Protestants.
I'm coming. Biko.
While the priests distributed food, nearby the English students found Biafran officials telling the children about the evils of Nigeria.
They are pursuing us, killing us. They are killing our parents, our brothers, our fathers, and even ourselves. Most of our parents are shot in the farm. Our homes are destroyed. Houses are burnt. Parent women are also murdered. Even children.
Even the children, it seems, must be told that Biafrans must fight or be massacred. The Nigerians have given some cause for the fear of massacre by bombing marketplaces like Umaya, where scores of civilians were killed. For the Biafrans behind the lines, these attacks are proof of their leaders' claim that Nigerian policy is indeed genocide.
We are BIAFRANS. We are BIAFRANS. We can never, never be Nigerians. Ever BIAFRAN, never Nigeria. Oh, Biafra, our own land. Oh, Biafra, our own land.
In the last days of Amaya, as the enemy advanced on, a patriotic rally was organized for the benefit of the visiting students. All this audience have now fled the town. The display was a very effective piece of political propaganda, but can it now be more than whistling in the dark?
Move on, BIAFRANS! Move on, BIAFRANS! This is your moving day, Move on, we will closer for the war is ending. Move on, BIAFRANS, move on!
The exuberance of this rally, almost in sight of the enemy guns, was matched by the optimism of the Commissioner for Information.
How are you getting your arms? We buy our arms from the black market, wherever it's available, but we can't tell you how we get our money.
Why not?
Why not? Well, we're a nation at war. If we tell you how we get our resources for fighting the war, it is quite easy for those who don't like it.
But this would seem to imply that there is a major power in that.
Yeah. I don't think your statement follows from my own statement. There are no relationship.
Well,
unless you want to say that money only comes from powers, then you're right to say, to conclude that because we have money, then the money must come from.
Are we right to conclude that the Biafran economy as it now stands is incapable on its own of maintaining the war effort?
I think you're very wrong to conclude, because I haven't told you how the money comes. You can see one.
Biafra has great oil reserves, is a rich prize. As the war rages, the Biafrans have shown great ingenuity with small oil refineries in the bush, which produce petrol for the war effort.
How good is your petrol?
Very good.
Yeah? How many octane have you got? About 55. That's low by our standards. What about your cars? Are they all right?
It's not making any difference to our cars. Not now. We haven't noticed any.
Yet much of the transport is out of action a lot of the time.
The drum here is a 90-gallon drum in which we have about 70 gallons of crude oil. This is the boil, and it comes out through what we call the heat exchanger. The vapors come out from the heat exchanger, and through the heat exchanger moves on into the pipes until we have at the effluent at the very end there. Are you all right? Shall I introduce one of, please, if you don't mind? That's it. That's it. You better move.
One of these small refineries exploded while the students were there, but no one was hurt. The remarkable Biafran effort to be self-sustaining will become more difficult as the territory diminishes. At the beginning of this week, the citizens of Amaya began to abandon the town, frightened of massacre. The Nigerians were already on the outskirts. The more prosperous refugees drove away by car. The rest walked.
I don't even know where to run. I have no idea which direction to go. My hometown is behind the enemy line now. I have nowhere to go.
Are you taking all your things with you?
I can't carry all my things, so I'm just picking a few of my things.
What do the people generally feel?
Everybody is so depressed. Nobody has idea. Almost about 3/4 of the girls have nowhere to go. We are just going to any direction.
Yesterday, the Nigerians marched in. The capital had fallen. In a country now only 20 miles by 40, there is nowhere much to drive, and little guarantee of security when you get there. For the sick and the crippled, desperately getting away from the front, there is no consolation. From the no man's land near the front lines, children are brought in starving.
A few nurses who are helping us, but we're also very short of drugs.
So they couldn't survive with you?
Some of them may. It's amazing. We have cases also of children that were restored practically fully to health, and then suddenly they died because kwashiorkor and marasmus has the effect of weakening the heart, and sometimes they die of heart failure. When you think that they're running around and in good form again, they suddenly collapse and die.
What has your death rate been here recently?
Father Wallace, what would you say the death rate was here recently in this camp?
I suppose about 4 or 5 to 6 in the month.
4 or 5 in the week?
6, an average of 6 in the month.
In the month, which is very low, considerably. And of course the Igbos are convinced that they're going to be massacred.
How long will the fear of genocide keep the Biafran troops in the firing line? English students joined in an action with a platoon of Biafran infantry. Relief food does not officially feed the troops, but like soldiers everywhere, they have their means. Their arms come from many countries, but these bullets and mortars are French. And it seems now that the French will withdraw their support from the Biafran cause. If Biafra is going to fight on, then its troops will have to rely even more heavily on British or Russian arms captured from the federal Nigerian forces.
This is our captured enemy weapon. You can see a lot of them. Captured ones. And this is enemy captured regular British.
Russian-made rifles.
Which one?
Yeah, this one.
In this action, the Biafrans were hoping to push the Nigerians back along the road to Port Harcourt. In the previous few days, they'd had some successes in skirmishes and killed several Nigerians. But on this day, the Biafrans soon discovered that the Nigerians had outflanked them, and they had to retreat in the face of enemy armored cars. This is now the pattern of the war. The Biafran determination to fight, although retreating, does not seem to diminish. Their faith remains as strong as ever.
O God, to whom vengeance belongeth, show thyself. Lift up thyself, thou judge of the earth, and reward a reward to the proud Nigerians. Lord, how long shall the wicked Nigerians have...
With the troops to sustain their faith was one of their own preachers. In his biblical texts, the evil are always Nigerian, the good Biafran.
They broke in pieces, and they, people of the Lord, afflict their heritage. They slay the widow and stranger and murder the fatherless.
Excuse me.
Let the sea.
Can I ask the troops, do you believe in the spiritual walls?
Well, on behalf of my soldiers, troops, in fact, we believe in them. We believe in God. God does everything.
Fighting a just cause, we believe God will help us. And as a result, whatever that comes out of God's will, we take.
Including defeat, if it comes?
No,
Well,
we can't.
no.
I don't think God will allow us to be defeated.
You might have seen videos like this before, but here's the big secret. Anyone can make one of these videos in a few